For more than 300 years, Europe feared one name: the Vikings. They burned monasteries, defeated kings, crossed oceans that few dared to sail, and believed that dying with a sword in hand was the only path to eternal glory. But then something happened that no emperor, no army, and no kingdom had ever accomplished. The Vikings began laying down Thor's hammer and raising the cross. How did the most feared worshippers of Odin become Christian? The answer is far more shocking than most people realize. In the frozen lands of Scandinavia, where winter often lasted longer than summer and the sea could become both a highway and a graveyard, children grew up hearing stories of gods who shaped every part of life. Odin was the All-Father, the seeker of wisdom who sacrificed an eye in pursuit of knowledge. Thor protected humanity with his mighty hammer. Freyja ruled over love, beauty, and many of the honored dead. These were not distant myths to the Vikings, they were living beliefs woven into everyday existence. Before setting sail, warriors prayed. Before planting crops, families offered sacrifices. Before battles, chiefs sought signs that the gods favored their cause. Their world was one where every storm, every victory, and every loss carried spiritual meaning. Few could have imagined that within a handful of generations, this ancient way of life would begin to change forever. Everything outsiders knew about the Vikings changed in the year 793 when raiders attacked the monastery of Lindisfarne on the northeast coast of England. To Christian monks, the attack seemed almost unimaginable. The monastery was a place of prayer, learning, and worship. Suddenly, armed men arrived from the sea, taking treasures, killing some of the inhabitants, and carrying others away. Contemporary chronicles describe shock and fear at the violence, though they naturally reflect the perspective of those who suffered the attack. For many in Christian Europe, the Vikings quickly became symbols of divine punishment or unstoppable terror. Yet for the Vikings themselves, these expeditions were driven by a mix of opportunity, status, wealth, and politics, not simply a desire for destruction. Even so, the raid marked the beginning of a new era in European history. As decades passed, Viking ships reached farther than anyone thought possible. They sailed west to Iceland and Greenland, crossed the North Atlantic to North America, journeyed east through the rivers of present-day Russia, and even served as elite guards in Constantinople. Along the way, they encountered Christian kingdoms, churches, monasteries, and rulers who viewed the world very differently. Some Vikings traded peacefully, others settled, and many married into local communities. These encounters did more than exchange silver, furs, or weapons. They introduced new ideas. A belief that had once seemed foreign slowly became familiar, not because it arrived in a single dramatic moment, but because everyday contact made it impossible to ignore. One of the greatest turning points came through kings rather than battles. By the 10th century, several Scandinavian rulers recognized that Christianity could strengthen alliances with powerful Christian neighbors and reinforce their own authority at home. Among the most famous was King Harald Bluetooth of Denmark, remembered for uniting much of Denmark and promoting Christianity. According to the famous Jellingstone, he declared that he had made the Danes Christian. Historians generally understand this as the beginning of a long process rather than an overnight conversion. Many people continued honoring the old gods while also adopting Christian practices. For years, two religious worlds existed side by side. For ordinary families, the transition was deeply personal. Grandparents told stories of Odin around the fire, while younger generations learned Christian prayers from missionaries and local priests. In some places, Thor's hammer pendants and Christian crosses have even been found from the same period, suggesting that some people embraced elements of both traditions during the transition. Archaeology paints a picture not of instant replacement, but of gradual change. The old beliefs did not simply disappear overnight. They faded over generations as societies, rulers, and communities redefined their identity. Yet one question still lingered across the north. If Odin had truly abandoned his people, why had the world not ended as the old stories foretold?